Hello and welcome back to the Karma Stories podcast. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have 3 stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. The Karma Stories podcast is published to all major podcasting platforms, and you can also read along on YouTube under our @Karma Stories podcast handle. If you have a story you'd like to submit to the podcast, you can do so by email at karmastoriespod@gmail.com. Alright, on to today's stories, let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Lazy Bystander. Higher ups told me to look elsewhere. So, I am a civil engineer that has done my engineering degree specializing in structural engineering. On top of that, I did a specializing year in complex studies and design in a renowned school in my country after my engineering degree. Don't know if that could give you an idea of my competencies, but I was 2nd and 3rd respectively on the rankings for both these schools for a promotion of 120 people. As a consequence, you could say I am heavily specialized. Cue the end of my studies. I signed a contract for the job I wanted before even finishing my studies. I wasn't rushed. Pretty much interviewed for 5 jobs with 7 CVs sent and 4 propositions. The team I joined was 6 engineers, including me, specializing in existing structures. Think if a bridge or dam has a crack, they call us to come on site and run calculations to see if everything is fine or not. Fast forward a year, I integrated quite well, grew in competence and maturity. After the 2nd, I have gone from the guy asking questions to the guy they came to when people needed answers. All was well. I got raises every year and bonuses with compliments, all the good stuff. Stuff began to go bad after the 3rd year. At the 3rd year, I was more or less the go-to guy for complex projects and when people didn't find answers. As such, I asked to move forward from project manager to a more back position we call technical referent. Basically, you keep producing as usual, but some of your time is dedicated to standard compliance for the team and answering deeper subjects that are passed throughout the year. It is not something that existed in this firm, but exists in a lot of firms here. I proposed this because at the time the team had grown to 12 people. Thanks to my participation in more complex projects, we even had grown our sales by 30% in 3 years. We had raised more people as project managers. As a consequence, with basically 2 people taking the part I couldn't do when becoming a referent, it became a new possibility. Even my chief and the chief of my chief told me and wrote in my yearly review that a lot of the projects we had at the time were because I was here. Anyways, to become a technical referent, I told them I would need to get some formations to complete my technical knowledge, for which I proposed the subjects myself, and even got pricing and contacts for institutions. They agreed both in oral and writing, but saying it might take some time, but they're interested in creating this position in the firm. You can begin to imagine where this is going. At the 4th year, becoming more and more essential to the team, I was teaching and testing newcomers. Everyone came to ask me questions instead of going to the chief. Even the chief came to me. He even told me he didn't even comprehend the technical meaning of some of the technical reports and calculations I made. Basically, I became the go-to guy when blocked or all is lost. Seeing nothing happening regarding the formations I asked for and the position, I asked to see someone from HR to discuss my career plan. Well, the HR interview was a dumpster fire. They got my name wrong, never heard of me, didn't get my file, nothing. So the discussion was rather void and short. To give you an idea, the firm is quite big here for our branch of the trade, 500 people with 6 HR people at the time for all of us. Funnily, the HR I saw was the one who recruited me. Came the yearly interview after with my chief. I pretty much said I was beginning to have some doubt about their will to make me evolve. They did give me a raise and a bonus and told me they would do everything necessary to make me evolve as I asked. Now at my 5th year, 3 people left, 2 for geographical reasons to reunite with their family, and 1 because they realized they technically couldn't follow the team and the projects we worked on. Nothing happened for me. I was more or less one of the 2 pillars of our team, but no formations, no evolution, no nothing. Even had to fight to get a specialized computer for calculations. Try to run a complex FEM model on a 5-year-old i5 with 8 gigs of RAM all day long and you will feel my pain. Anyway, I asked to see my chief. I basically told him it's been 2 years, nothing has been done, please do something, anything. After this, they asked me for a meeting with the chief of my chief, and a chief from another division. First thing in the meeting, the chief of my chief says, "So I didn't read your file and I'm not aware of what is asked, please explain again." This guy manages 50 people, yes, 50. Fine, I explained again. After explaining, I was more or less crushed by 2 of them for 1 hour while my chief said nothing. Basically, I didn't make any effort, it is my job to answer everyone, I was asking for too much, and stuff like that. To be true, at the 10th minute, I shut my brain off, and at the end, I pretty much told them, if nothing is done, I would begin to look elsewhere, and many of the team which are looking at this situation might follow. They answered that I should look elsewhere if not satisfied, but they will see to meet my demands, which is quite a contradiction. Cue now 4 months later, where I was more or less treated as if I was sick, and I would transmit it to them by the hierarchy. I was told on multiple times, the grass is not greener elsewhere, you might not find something better, but you might still want to look, and all the nice things you can imagine to keep someone. I get along with everyone in the team. All, except my chief who was indifferent, were quite irritated with what was happening for me. To note, most of them were taught by me at this point, with their skills inherited from me too. Well, being fed up with my hierarchy, I did begin searching, thinking nothing would move. Indeed, nothing moved. I sent 5 CVs, interviewed for 3, and got 2 propositions, and accepted 1. Before going, I told them that even if grass is not always greener elsewhere, you won't keep someone by threatening them, and that people might follow what I have done if they're not able to recognize their talents. I got a nice job now, more laid back, less hours, 10% raise, more advantages, including a car paid by the firm, national referent for my post, and more. Now, the fallout. 2 people followed me in resigning 3 and 6 months later because they lost trust in the firm with what happened to me. From the 6 people left, 3 told me that they would leave because of what happened. From what they said to me, the atmosphere is dead now. They don't have anyone to turn to for technical questions. No fun discussions at the job, no more technical discussions, pretty much a skeleton crew waiting to find better. To give you an idea, those guys are good. Tried to recruit 2 of them myself, but was refused because it's too far from their family. Understandable. I do try to send them job offerings I hear from and recommend them. When they are gone, the person with the most experience in the division, except the chief, would have 10 months experience. The medium experience time would be 5 months. They lost big contracts I carried. Some clients called me personally to ask what happened and said they will give them the benefit of the doubt, but they told me they didn't trust my chief because he screwed them over in the past. I went back some time ago to say hi. I was told the sales have gone back to the level 5 years ago before I was in the firm. A decrease of 35% at the time in the span of 9 months with 3 resignations. Even my now past chief told me they now don't even try to answer projects involving calculations that seem a bit hard because they don't have the competencies with me gone. Now the future for the division seems hazy because they don't know where to stand because of the lack of competencies, complex projects, calculations, etc. This happened quite some time ago now, but happy to get this off my chest. For newly hired and first job people, please begin to recognize your worth as soon as you can. It will help you so much to evolve and know when you are being screwed. Thanks for reading. Cheers. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Questor Tapes. It says, "One bit of advice. In 2 cases you mentioned that your file was not read. For anyone reading this, it's a good idea to bring your own copies of all possibly relevant documentation that shows your worth. In this particular case, it's quite possible it would have made no difference, but in other circumstances, where management is more benignly incompetent, it can have value." Okay, first of all, if you're walking into a meeting with your boss's boss and they say, I haven't read your file and don't know what's going on, I think at that point you can stand up, look them in the eyes and say, okay, so you're not prepared. Would you like to reschedule this so you can do your due diligence and know actually what you're supposed to be talking about? Like, come on, this guy manages what, 50 people, OP said? You should know who the pillars are of your team if you only have 50 people. And let's quickly revisit the comment of the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. It may not be, but over there, I'm not dodging dog crap like I am over here. This story comes to us from Everybody's Therapist. Let your best employee go? I'll take it all down with me. This happened a couple of years ago, but I was thinking about it recently. I worked for a company doing their media design, graphic design, photography, live event AV, video editing, etc. This company held big events, and over my years at the company, I was given more and more unrelated responsibilities until I was doing the jobs of at least 4 people. They also never helped pay for any materials, so all of the necessary media equipment was paid for out of pocket. All of them had my name on them to make sure that it wouldn't get lost if I lent it out. Over the years, I had accumulated a pretty impressive supply through second-hand purchases and watching for deals. By the time I hit my 5th year there, I had thousands of dollars in high-end equipment that was used for almost every part of the organization's promotion and event production. I think you can see where this is going. One day, I was brought into my boss's office and told that they would be downsizing and had found someone fresh out of college with no real life experience that will be taking over my job, as well as a few others. I was completely caught off guard. They then had one of the people from corporate follow me to my office to assist in cleaning out my stuff. He specifically said, "Take everything that is yours, you won't be coming back." So that's what I did. They clearly expected the usual paper box full of some photos and a plant, but instead, I had them hauling crate after crate of our media and event supplies to my car. I had a 2004 Ford Explorer at the time, and by the time I left, it was filled to the brim. With every box that we took out to my car, my boss began to get more and more panicked. At one time he said, "You can only take things that are yours," and through my sadness and anger, I was able to find it in me to kindly tell him that every single thing I was taking was mine, and that I kept all the receipts if he wanted proof. The final nail in the coffin was when I told him that I would need access to the arena's AV booth and the catwalk. I still remember the fear in his eyes. We went and I unplugged all of my cameras that I had been lending to my events team, all of which were clearly marked with my name. I felt like the Grinch, just walking around and taking all the random things in the building that had my name on them. Driving away, I was heartbroken that a company I had given 200% to in every way had picked someone younger and fresh out of college to replace me. But I won't lie, the smugness of watching their faces as I stripped the place bare was worth it. Looking back on it, that was the worst and most toxic job I've ever had. The company only lasted another year before they folded entirely, and I like to believe that I had a hand in that. And to think if they had just compensated me fairly and purchased the necessary things themselves, instead of forcing me to provide my team with things, they wouldn't have had to start from scratch. It's too bad that we don't hear what OP did after this because, let's be honest here, they left this place, but they have all of the necessary equipment to start their own business doing exactly what they were before. And oh my gosh, wouldn't you know, there's a big company that just lost all of their equipment that might need a contractor to come in and do the work for them. Oh, and OP, guess what? All of your equipment fits perfectly for what they need done. The only thing is, you now get to set your own rate. Okay though, on a serious note, don't buy a whole bunch of stuff for your workplace and put your name on it, because there's a good chance that workplace is going to try and claim that stuff anyway. And are you really able to go to battle against a giant corporation to say that all this stuff I used to do my job there was mine and didn't belong to the company? Good luck with that. This story comes to us from Bapiri. If you don't like it, you can just leave. I've been working with a home health agency for the better part of 9 months. I work 12-hour days with cases ranging from complex to simple. In that time, I've worked 11 unscheduled doubles and 42 additional 12-hour overtime shifts. I have used exactly 2 sick days, one for myself and one for my kid. I do not call out, I do not show up late, and I don't do the corner cutting they suggest. I take vacation time on my off days. I've saved them on 3 specific occasions from failing audits. I picked up so much because A, the money is nice, B, I legitimately care about the well-being of my patients, and C, they begged me. You see, the company I work for likes to take on new clients without having enough staff to cover that patient. Then, they freak out and offer bonuses for us to pick up. These are governmentally contracted jobs with big DOE bucks coming in. If they can't prove the patient is taken care of, they are fined heavily. Too many fines, and they're blackballed from taking new DOE clients at all. This company is so poorly run, it's a joke. They have 8 schedulers, but still send mass texts every single day asking us to pick up. These happen all hours of day and night. They often double book or randomly change schedules without informing clients or nurses. They also underpay for my area. Not much, but paying $4 less per hour is a big deal. They also won't respond to your questions, calls, or texts for days to weeks at a time. I've been looking around for a while and found a company that pays more, has good leadership, and they said they'd have me on the ground running closer to home if I just went through their hiring program. I agreed and have been an employee with them for about a month, just no hours worked yet. Back to my malicious compliance. I knew I'd be out of town for a couple of days and have 9 days worth of PTO banked. I decided to help them out and ask for 3 days off. I assumed that would give them enough time to fill my spot. I did this on September 13th. The days I requested are October 12th, 13th, and 14th. It's a mini vacation for my family since I worked all summer. Monday, I received a nasty email about the final day for PTO requests being September 10th. I let the manager know I was trying to help them out by giving them time to fill it. She shot back with how selfish of me it was to leave her short-handed. She rejected my PTO request. Tuesday, I showed up at the office to discuss this little frustration. I mentioned my exemplary work history and intention of making things easier for them. She slammed the table with her balled fist and said, "You will work these days. I don't care if you have a trip planned to Australia, you'll be there. If you don't like it, you can just leave." It was her nasty smirk that set me off. I stood up, took a mint, and said, "As you wish. I expect all my PTO to be on my next paycheck in accordance with our state's PTO laws. I hope you can fill the opening on such short notice." The look of horror on her face was more valuable than the PTO. In the past 24 hours, I've received 19 voicemails asking if I can come into work because they're short. Tonight is my first night with the new company. It ended up being $6 an hour more, 48 minutes each way closer to home, and I get paid 40 hours even though I worked 36. Be careful what you wish for, you may just get it. Alright, have we not learned yet that we don't stretch ourselves for any company where we don't have a financial stake? If you go out of your way to do more work for a company, you're gonna get nothing back in most situations. All they're gonna see is somebody who is exploitable and who will keep on doing all that extra work. I'd like to touch on one more thing here as well, because OP said that they were working 12-hour days, but sometimes taking extra time and scheduling additional days. Then they said when they went to the new job, their commute was reduced by 48 minutes each way. That means that their commute was likely an hour-ish to get to that job. So they were working a 12-hour day with 2 hours of commute time. I understand you've got to do what you've got to do to get the bills paid, but that really sucks. If you enjoy daily Reddit stories, I encourage you to follow and add us to your favorites on whichever podcasting platform you enjoy the most. And if you're watching and listening on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.